Hey there. So this is a piano arrangement of the Cole Porter song, All of You. And there's no improvisation, it's just right, there's no introduction, or there's a tiny, tiny little appendage at the end, a coda, so to speak. But really, it's just the form, the 32-bar form. And at this level here, students of all ages, I'll go along at a measured clip, but sort of in a forward fashion, and hope that you really enjoy the process. I'll do a lot of explaining to you and share with you why I came up with certain voicings, and I have a little key code on the arrangement itself. So first and foremost, make sure you print a copy of the arrangement, and after you've printed it, maybe rewatch my playing of it without any narration, just the actual playing of the entirety of it, just so you have a sound in your head. Let's get down to work. This is really fun. When you look at this sheet, I didn't write the form per se using A's and B's and C's and things of that nature, but it's pretty conspicuous. It's pretty easy to see that if you exclude the first measure, let's call that measure 0. Let's not even call it measure 1, call it measure 0 in the upper left-hand corner. It's a pickup measure. Those are melodic pickups to the song. The song actually starts at the double bar, which looks like the second measure. It's really the first measure of the form. And we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another double bar. So that's the first sign that this is a traditional form. We've got 8 measures. And if you and I call that A, the A section, and look at the next 8 measures on the first page and another double bar, that looks markedly different than the first. So this second section is the B section. So we have A, B, second page, 8 bars, double bar. Those 8 bars look remarkably similar to the first 8 bars. They are not exactly the same. But for all intents and purposes, they smack of the same thing. 5 or 6 of the measures are the same as the first. So we might call this A prime, A with a little accent after it, A prime. And then the last 8 measures is really something markedly different. So in summary, a little icebreaker for our tutorial here, it's ABAC in format, ABAC. The other thing I want to mention, and then we'll get right down to playing, is there are 3 techniques, I guess one would say, arranging techniques really, that I used when I constructed this arrangement. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see these 3 little entries. And throughout the arrangement, you'll see letters, kind of codes almost, with boxes around them. And the key to those codes, like on a map, is in the upper left-hand corner. Let's take a peek. So CL is an abbreviation for cluster. What does it mean to be a cluster voicing? So cluster is nothing more than, as it would be sort of used in a non-musical sentence, things that are sort of really mashed together. So very, very brief lesson. If you and I work out our chords in tertian form or tertial form, we build it up in thirds. Those can be very valuable points of reference, although it may not be aesthetically what we want. Here's the example. Here's C major 7. There's C major. If I add the 7th degree of the scale, I get C major 7. I could add 9. I could add 11. I could add 13. If we do things like this, it can give us a very full sound. That's a very, very full sound. It's a little discordant, disjunct, dissonant, but if I move that F to F sharp, sounds wonderful. That's a very rich, very, very rich sound. Chord sound over here, 9s, 11s, and 13s over here. The 11 has been altered. It's clear and easy to see. Back to clusters. Clusters say, well, take some of those notes and don't space them out like that. Compress them and cram them together. So that sound, that C major 9, 13, C major 13 with a sharp 11, I could still achieve that sound by forcing some of these notes that are up here to be down here, like that. So, and then let me get rid of this C, I'll put it on the bottom, and I'll play this. Wow, so isn't that interesting? Just the first example. What does it mean to be a cluster? See how these are all clustered together. I've forced them together. What was this? Kind of an open sound, same ingredients, but so that's the first little lesson. What does it mean to use a cluster? There are a number of examples in this piece. Can't wait to play those for you. Number 2. UST is an abbreviation for upper structure triad. UST, upper structure triad. What does it mean to be an upper structure? Let's go back to that example that I just shared with you, which is C major, or in this case, X, any major chord, really, major chord. If I use the ingredients of the major scale, 1, 3, 5, here's 7, C major 7. So far I have nothing upper structure, because literally upper structure means above the octave. So if you and I look down here at the piano laboratory, as it were, I can clearly see the octave. Everything below the octave is going to be a chord tone, 1, 3, 5, and 7. Everything above the octave is where jazzers start to salivate and love it. These are what we call tensions, color tones. These are the frosting. These are the things that make jazz sound as it can sound on a harmonic level. 9, I'll again use the sharp 11. This was 11, here's sharp 11, here's 13. Notice how if I take my left hand away, what remains? This is the point of the upper structure triad, and why it's a very valuable thing to chase down. Look at that. If you and I weren't having this discussion, I hope you would say to me, Tom, that's a D major triad. It is. It's just a lonely old D major triad. And here's the crux of why upper structure triads work so well and they're so easy, especially for us as piano players. And that is to say, if I take my right hand and play a chord and I fuse it a different chord than what I'm playing in my left hand, if I fuse those things together, they can create something much bigger and more sophisticated. So in this case, I could say, oh, that's C major 13 with a sharp 11. And my goodness, there's so many qualifiers and qualifications and additions, it takes a long time to process that. But much simpler to say, gee, lefty, play C major 7, cake. Righty, play a D major triad. You get the same result, you fuse them together. So as you look throughout this arrangement, you'll see those things, UST, upper structure triad, and then it will tell you what the upper structure triad is. And I won't give it away, I won't be a spoiler, but there's a very special upper structure triad that I use twice in this arrangement. Lastly, Q is quartal. Quartal is just like in the English language. Quart is the prefix for 4. 4 quarters in a dollar. 4 quarts of milk in a gallon of milk. Quartal harmony. So if you and I, again, rely a little bit on the most basic fundamental thing, a scale, and for this teaching purpose here, I'm just going to use the C major scale. There's no sharps, no flats. I'll start here on D. I'll go up a fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll go up another fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we have perfect fourths. Perfect fourths. If you are more advanced than knowing just the key of C, I will confide and say to you that we measure from Do to Fa. Do, Re, Mi, Fa. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you start at this new point, that now becomes Do, and then we find a new Fa. We start at a new Do, we find a new Fa. So for example, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, here Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Do. So this is how I get really quartal harmony. So anyway, I'll talk much more about all 3 of those things, plus more, as I sort of unpack this arrangement. Hey there, let's get down to playing. You might have a number 2 pencil off to the side. I hope that there are a number of things that I'll mention throughout playing this arrangement, and if they resonate with you, I hope you'll write on this arrangement so that you'll remember these techniques. They are completely transferable. I use these techniques not just for this arrangement, I use them all the time. So, and I would challenge you to do the same thing. I have one more thing to say. I'm sorry, I'm babbling on today. If you feel like this is too difficult for you at this particular level, there is a beginner level. So, and there's zero shame. There's no shame in going back to that beginner level to start as a place to get some sort of terra firma. Really, it's the same arrangement, but I've sort of taken out the syncopation, so it's a little bit easier to navigate rhythmically speaking. 95% of the voicings are exactly the same. So if you feel like this is too fast, if it's too difficult, if it's overwhelming, please don't be overwhelmed. Just go back to the beginner level and start there. It's, the point is to really have fun playing these things and to kind of, get a nice advanced jazz sound. So here it is. As written, why don't I play the first little bit, 3 or 4 measures, and let's see what we have here. I'll keep going. Sorry. Don't even know my own arrangement, goodness. A lot of stuff. First and foremost, I hope you are discovering or hearing or witnessing that the left hand plays the same note over and over and over and over again. We're in the key of E flat, aren't we? 3 flats, key of E flat. And the left hand just keeps hammering this B flat. So I'm using a technique here called a pedal tone, It's just like the pedal that you'd find under the piano, same spelling. But in music, a pedal tone is something that is held while other chords go on changing around it. You can find it in rock music. You can find it in Bach. At the end of that Bach piece, right, he keeps hammering the G over and over and over again. I'm playing the wrong notes. G, 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 G. And that reveals the same thing that I'm trying to get across here, which is if you're in a particular key, if you go for the 5, sol, if you're speaking solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 of the key. So in that Bach that I just shared with you, it was the 5 that was being hammered. In the Doobie Brothers song that I played before that, same thing, it's in the key of C, but I was playing a G. That's it. In this particular case, since we're in the key of E flat, do, re, mi, fa, sol, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the note is B flat, and that's why I'm using that. In summary, pedal 5, you might write that down, pedal 5. Very effective, used throughout many composers over the years. I mean, Bach was using that in the early 18th century, right? And I'm sure that it was even present prior to that, historically speaking. The pickups. First measure, A flat minor 6. Let's take a look at it. I didn't write anything above the chord because it's really a tertian chord, a tertial chord in that has been inverted. So here's A flat minor, not a big deal in root position. Add the 6th, still not a big deal. A flat minor 6. I invert it once, so I take the A flat off the bottom and I put it at the top. There it is. What a delicious sound that is. A flat minor 6, but instead of having the A flat down on the bottom, I have this, the B flat on the bottom. What a delightful sound. First talking point, or the first talking point that is in the key in the upper left-hand corner. CL is cluster. Look at this. Holy moly, 4 notes crammed all together, just like I had mentioned a few moments ago, crammed all together that represent a much larger, much bigger sound. E flat major 13, in its exploded, sort of open sound, might be this. There it is, all open like that, huh? Amazing. In a tertian or tertial in thirds, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Right, there's an E flat major 13. And what I have done is I've made a deliberate decision to create a cluster, to take this wonderful array of 6 and 7 notes, delightful, and just cram them all together. So that's where we have the second measure. It looks like the third measure, but remember, we're treating that first measure as a pickup measure. We're going to call that 0, not going to be a part of the form. In the second full measure, E flat major 13 is this. Wow, wow. And paired with, married to, that pedal 5. Couple more to go. This is the last measure of the top stave. This one is my fave cluster, the favorite one of the whole doggone arrangement. It's like so rich, it's like a piece of rich food. Just so sophisticated. Listen to that. Oh, it's delightful. So this is F minor 9 flat 5. Let's open this up and then we'll put it back together again. I have F minor. If I flat the 5, I do this. A minor 9 chord implicit in that has the dominant 7. So here's 8, 7, flat 7. I'm going to add that. There's 8. I'm going to add 9. So here it is. Here's F minor 9 with a flatted 5th in tertial form. So kind of our little laboratory here. Look at the screen. Hopefully that MIDI keyboard will help you to see that. There's an F minor 7 chord with a 9th and a flatted 5th. Also known as half diminished, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to write that, I did not choose to write it, but you're welcome to write it down there. Half diminished. What a lovely sound. And what I've chosen to do is take the G off the top and put it down here, and then eliminate some notes. Eliminated the E flat, I eliminated the F, and that's where I came up with that. Oh my gosh. Now, in full disclosure, Cole Porter's melody is I like the look of you, the lure of you, right? The melody is actually C flat melodically, but that was just screaming to me to voice it in that fashion. One more, and I'll just broach the subject here before continuing on. This is the last 2 notes of the top stave. And notice it does this. OMG. And this is with B flat underneath. Wow! Okay, so this is a marvelous talking point. Notice it's from the key, so it's an upper structure triad. It says UST E7. First things first. There's that right hand is E7. If that's difficult for you to see, it may be because it's in second inversion. So let's invert it a few times to get it back to root position. Take the B off the bottom, put it on the top. Cool. Take the D off the bottom, put it on the top. Cool. There it is. Bada bing. E7, root position. Not a big deal. E7 is a dominant chord. Dominant chords have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. What is unusual is that I have paired that E7 with B flat. You would expect this, but you don't get it. You get this. Amazing, amazing. I'm going to take a very, very brief pause here and go on to talk about what that crazy relationship is. It's a very, very powerful tool. So hope you're having a good time so far. All right, so this is such a cool thing. I use this technique so often, And it's not just peculiar to jazz. You can find it in a Bach chorale. So it's an old school thing. And the answer has been revealed already. If you look at the sheet, in that very upper right-hand corner, just under my name there, where it says arranged by Tom Snow, above the upper structure triad E7, it says tritone substitution, tritone substitution. If you're familiar with tritone substitutions, you might fast forward a couple of minutes here in the video, or you might enjoy watching my explanation. If that's new to you, I'm so pleased, I'm so excited to share this with you. There's a magical relationship between the notes E and B flat. Let's look at that relationship first, and then we'll look at the relationship between the chords E7 and B flat 7. So these are the cards we have on the table. This guy's playing E7 chord, this guy's playing B flat. What is this magical relationship between B flat and E? It's a tritone. That should be a hint. Tri obviously is 3, and so we ask ourselves, why does the number 3 come into the conversation if we're looking at these two tones? And I submit this, which is the truth. If you march in whole steps, you will find there's a 3 whole step difference between those two points, between those two poles. Let's start at B flat. Go up a whole step, go up another whole step, go up another whole step. Works from E as well. Here's E, go up a whole step, another whole step, another whole step. There's the B flat. Incredible. It works going down, going up. There's another interesting relationship that these have that doesn't maybe necessarily have to do with the word tri or tritone. I like to use the word equidistant. There is no point further from B flat on this topography, on this keyboard. There's no point further from B flat than the note E. Let's prove it. B flat, B flat. Try this with me. March inward by half step. Amazing. Isn't that unbelievable? That E is equidistant from the B flats, and it's equal opportunity. It works from E as well. Watch this. From E, there's the B flat. The B flat and the E are equidistant. So I will bring some summary to this. I see as B and E flat as two sides of a coin, heads and tails. They are one. They are the same in many, many, many respects. They are the same thing. They're just a different side. And I feel like that relationship is most manifest when we compare dominant chords based on those tones. Dominant chords based on those tones. So just a little bit more explanation. Here we go. In the in the right hand, I will play E7. This one's in root position. Try that. Not a big deal. In this hand, I will play B flat 7, also in root position. Put them together. I like that sound. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I happen to love that sound. But let's take a close look as to why these are inextricable cousins, why they are absolutely kind of the light side and the dark side, but at the sort of the blood and guts of each of them is the same. If I remove the root, see you later, root, bye-bye. Amazing so far. What if I get rid of the fifth? So the B is going away up here, the F is going away up here. Look what I have. Wow! What was the third and flat 7 down here is the third and flat 7 up here. So the A flat and the D, the A flat and the D are the same exact notes with inverse relations, with inverse relations. This is the third and the flat 7. This is the third, and that's the flat 7. So I'll bring some closure to it. I apologize, I waffle on so much, but these ideas, they excite me so much. And as I had said earlier, because this is a transferable skill, it's worth taking the time. It's worth taking 5 minutes to talk about this, because you can use this on all of your music. Such a delightful thing. Tritone substitution. In this case, the note is B flat, so I chose an E7 chord. Onward. Second stave. You'll see the chord that I've used there. It says B flat 7 alt, or altered. Altered simply means using those 9s, 11s, and 13s, but not in their natural state. Using a flat 9 or a sharp 9, using a sharp 11, using a flat 13, altering that 9, 11, and 13 to give you a little bit more of a different color, really. I don't want to give too much more of a descriptor than that, but it's just a different sound. So, in the key of B flat, of course, I've used B flat 7 altered. There's flat 9, there's the 3rd, there's sharp 11, and there's the 7th, or flat 7th, as it were. Onward, second measure, second stave. Same as the first measure. Cluster, same as the first measure. Same as the 3rd measure. Amazing, amazing. Let's unpack this one. Upper structure triad of E minor. Upper structure triad of E minor on a B flat chord. The end result, as you can see there in script, is B flat 13, flat 9. And I didn't write it, but there's a sharp 11 in there as well. So it just begs the question, what would you rather do? Would you rather say, oh, you play E minor? That was so easy. It took no brain cells, E minor. And then I fused that with B flat 7, put them together. Wow, amazing, amazing. Or would you rather see B flat 13, flat 9, sharp 11? It's exhausting to say. So the melody is, that's the Cole Porter melody. And he did, in fact, I think in the original, used an inside B flat 7 sound. I chose this. Notice the chord, the body of the chord, the structure, the blood and guts of the chord is down here in the left hand. And the frosting, the wonderful sort of color that I'm adding to it is in the right hand. There's that E minor chord in second inversion. So melody, E minor. There's the bread and butter right there, the B flat 7. Good. I'll bring some closure to this. This is the first 8 measures. Ba, 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 be, oh, ba, ba. E7 over B flat. Cluster, another cluster. E minor with B flat 7. Couple more to go. Third stave. That's just your standard G minor 11. Not a big deal. It's rootless. Take a look at those notes. If in your left hand you played this G, that would be with a root and it would be completely tertian. The only thing that's missing is this. If you saw my tutorial on blue and green, this is the actual first chord of blue and green. G minor 13. In this case, it's very, very similar, but not exactly the same. And is mandated, the melody is mandated. And so in this case, friends, what I've decided to do is, there's no fingerings on here, but what I've decided to do is use my thumb on the B flat and my index finger on the F so that I can sort of rock down to get the root. Initially, the chords are played with no root, and then we get the root. No root, then we get the root. So you take a look at the first measure, third stave. We have this, G minor 11, but just to hammer it home, I take my pinky and I do this. Then you feel that. Cool? Same thing with the next measure. Okay, so So just stretch. However big your hand is however big your hand is. Just stretch and you'll be able to do it. But don't feel like you have to play them at the same time. You can simply play the two notes that are printed first, use the pedal to hold it, and then reach down for the lower one. I'll take a quick hiccup here, a quick pause, and pick up. Hope you're having a good time. All right, so here's another fave of mine, a favorite upper structure triad. This is the third stave, first page, second measure. The chord is this. So in the left hand, I have F flat and B flat. Those are the guide tones. I haven't used that word yet today. Those are the guide tones, the third and the flat seventh of this dominant chord, G flat 7. Let's start, it's worth taking the time. Let's start there. Here's G flat 7. G flat major, there's the dominant 7. 1, 3, 5, and flat 7. I've allocated it this way, a root on the bottom eventually in the latter part of the measure, and then the guide tones here like that. G flat 7, amazing. The right hand is this. Let's take a look at the right hand. I'll eliminate some doubled notes. Let's get rid of the C. I see a couple of C's there. Excuse me, please. And I will invert it. So I'll take the A flat off the top and I'll put it here on the bottom. And now I can clearly see that that's an A flat triad. So this is another one of those classic cases of, gee, I have this dominant chord. So how wonderful is it if I take my right hand and take a disparate chord, something else, something different, and I mash it in there together, and it produces a beautiful sound. It's so delicious. I just love it. What is it? Let's take a look. Laboratory, G flat, B flat, D flat, major chord. Here's 8, that's the octave. Down to 7, down to flat 7. I now have a G flat 7 chord. Voila, not a big deal. Here's 8, so this must be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If I put all those things together, there's still some weirdness here, right? So that C flat, I'm gonna make regular C, C natural. So from the ground up, I have 1, 3, 5, the flatted 7th, that makes it dominant. Natural 9, a very innocuous and delicious, delightful, addition, color. Sharp 11, and natural 13. This gives me that A flat major triad pitted against G flat 7. So there you have it. Third measure of the third stave. Not a big deal. It's just kind of a big, fat, open F minor 9 sound. And another cluster. We've talked about that before. Hooray! Bottom of the page, finally, the Q. Quartal, fourths. There's the root. Third of the chord. I go from here up to here, from here up to here, from here up to here. Ay, caramba. Those fourths are amazing. Isn't that a great sound? Fourths are the inverse of a fifth, but they still smack of that fifth sound, like kind of that ancient Gregorian chant sort of thing. What a wonderful sound that is. So measure 13, this is the very bottom left-hand corner of the first page. We have this, right? Melody, root, and fourths under the melody. I jump ship there and totally jump ship here. That's the second measure, which is really just a D flat 9 in root position. Delightful. And here's an exciting place. C7 in the bottom with an A major triad in the right hand. And that's, I will say on a side note, friends, that's specifically why I chose to write that as C sharp. I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's a flat key. We should really be using flats. And sometimes that is, actually many times that is the case. In this particular case, I wanted it to be very conspicuous to see the E, A, C sharp. Okay. Moving on. So this is a bit of a stretch. If it's too much for you, friends, use the use the F and use the pedal, and then kind of move up. Watch my left hand. So I strike the F and then I move up this way, so it doesn't feel quite so painful there. I really love that. We've talked about this. This is the minor 9 sound. It was in measure 4, 5, 6, 7. And then back to another cluster. Let's go on and see if there's some new things to explore. This is the second page. This is the same. That's the cluster. There's the cluster. That's the same. First place I'll stop is measure 23. Second page, second stave, third measure. This is G minor 11. G minor 11 in a clustered fashion, crammed together. I'm going to forge forward. Amazing. This is the C13 flat 9, another upper structure triad of an F sharp minor. Let's take a quick peek. Here's the melody. The melody note is not a part of the upper structure. It's okay. Here's the upper structure. Right? Here's that F sharp minor. Left hand, C7. I will also, especially if you are interested in jazz, I will say that oftentimes the fifth of the chord in the left hand is one of the first to take a hike. You'll see that that C7 chord is incomplete. It's not this, friends. I took the fifth out. It's this one here. So we have this. And just for some extra gravity, I do this. Cool. Almost done. Here we go. And I even put a little roll line there. Just that's a heck of a spans to reach A flat and C. Just roll them in. We have a B flat triad in the right hand. Oh, there's another one of those minor 7 flat 5s with the natural 9. Delicious. So I'm going fast. I must go back to 25 for a moment. Okay, just the A flat major 7 chord. The guide tones here, the root down here. I'm using that same formula again. And a B flat triad. Interestingly, that setting that we are at measure 25 is the same setting that you found in measure 10. It's the same relationship. Measure 10 was a G flat chord here with an A flat chord here. Measure 25 is an A flat chord here with a B flat chord here. It gives you that same natural 9, sharp 11, and 13. And you can certainly roll this. This is measure 26, if that's helpful to you. Again, root, guide tones, yummy stuff on top. Oh my gosh. Quartal, you dig? See it? Down a fourth, down a fourth, down a fourth. Even this is down a fourth. It's an augmented fourth. Fourth, perfect fourth, perfect fourth, perfect fourth. That would be a perfect fourth. There's an augmented fourth. This really is just a kind of almost like a root position, similar to a root position, open. Let's see here. These are starting to get rich. This is the D flat 9. Take a peek. I've got the D flat 7 in root position. I'm adding the 9 So far it is very tertial, it's very much in thirds. But I'm choosing to take that 13 and put it down here. So you hear that crunchy sound. Oh, it's so delightful. And then we have a regular old C9 with a secondary line in there. So 4 more measures to go. I hope you're having a good time. I could talk about this all day long, so I hope that you're having as much fun as I am. All right, here's the last bit. Exciting, oh my gosh. So where we last left was, let's see, 25, 26, 27, and 28. 27 is this: G minor 13, D flat 9, C9, with this kind of inner line, which makes it C7 with a flat 9. Interesting, huh? Da, dee, do, da. Love those. So here are those 2 measures. This is 27, 28, and, 27 and 28. Kind of a cool sound. The bottom stave. Measure 29, Q for quartal. Absolutely divine, absolutely amazing. Isn't that great? It's perfect fourths. And the root is in there, but it's not at the bottom where we usually expect it. It's not this. Which is kind of cool. It's a bit heavy. It was heavy for me, so I decided to... This is lighter, isn't it? 2 examples, F minor 11 and G minor 11. They're both fourths, quartal harmony. Measured 30 is the melody. What a neat sound. This is sort of, I didn't put a Q over it, but it's sort of quartal, isn't it? Here's the melody, and the melody to G, C to G is a fourth, right? And then E flat to B flat to F is also a fourth. So there's some fourths, here's some fourths. So it's an interesting open sound. Not strictly fourths, but it smacks of those fourths that are inside. Pardon. There's another one of those clusters. And here, I didn't write it, but you might wish to write it in the penultimate measure there, 31. It's a deceptive cadence. I love them. Oh my gosh, deceptive cadence. You know the melody is this. Ba-da. The melody ends here. Da-da-dum, bum, bum. It's going to end there. And 99% of the time we would expect this. It's great. Ends on the 1 chord, everybody's happy. But I love to be sneaky and to put chords that you wouldn't expect, but they're still attached to the given melody note. So if you think about it, that E flat, if I end on an E flat chord, is the root. I chose to end on a B chord because that's also in a B chord, isn't it? Isn't that the third of a B chord? So obviously in the context, that's where the surprise comes from, because we're really conditioned to this. We expect this, right? Here's what we get. So neat. And I do love the openness of a chord, a major triad that uses both the 6th and the 9th. And that's why I've chosen this one here. So you'll see left hand root, there's the first iteration of it, although it is not complete. Complete would be this. It's incomplete. But after that, it's, is that right? What did I write there? I thought, oh, I stand corrected. There we go, just a regular B6 chord in. Now hold on, that's it. forgive me, I dropped the 5th. So I've got there's the B major chord, I've got the 9th and the 6th. What was it? And if you are a fan of fingerings when it comes to arpeggios and scales and things of that nature, I'm really using the most basic thumb on the white note. Thumb on the white note. 2, 3, 5. That's what I'm using. 1, 2, 3, 5. And you might practice, if you're looking to get a nice smooth sound, you might practice a little bit of the thumb going under as you ascend. Watch, I'll do it nice and slow. So notice right here, even while I'm playing the last note, see how my thumb is coming under there? And also, there's that feeling of the wrist moving this way to get a nice smooth arpeggio. You know, now that I play it faster, I'm realizing for my hand, 4 is, I'm not even using the 5th. 4 is more comfortable for me. Come on there, Tom Snow. There we go. Okay. There. I'll button it up there. It's only 2 pages of music. It's 32 measures of music. But we spent, goodness, almost an hour talking about this only because it's a treasure trove. This arrangement is just filled with marvelous techniques, talking points. Those 3 that are in the upper left-hand corner are so valuable, so wonderful. I hope that if it motivates you, if you like the sound, to really explore those creatures, explore those techniques and apply them to other songs or other arrangements that you might be doing or playing. They really bring a lot of joy to the sound that we're able to create as pianists or arrangers, as that may be. As always, if this is too fast, if you feel overwhelmed, just take a peek at the beginner level. I think you'll find it very accessible, very easy. If this is too slow for you, I hope you'll look at the professional advanced level. It's the same arrangement. I just get a little bit deeper, a little bit faster paced, talk about some other options about how to use some of these techniques. As always, thanks for your support. I hope you had a great time, and I can't wait to share more music with you.